John Burke of Burke & Company Long and Foster Real Estate Group, and I know there are people who come here each week for our insightful, informative, and very serious real estate market reports. And since you're tuning in again this week, it's an April Fool's. Yes, that's right. It's been a very hard couple of weeks in real estate. We had a few big industry changes, a lawsuit settlement that a lot of people are talking about, a little bit of uncertainty about how things are going to proceed in the future. So since this is landing on April 1st to be done, I decided to just completely shift gears. You can turn this off if you're not interested, but I'm giving myself a break since it's being filmed on Easter Sunday. Happy Easter to anybody who celebrates. And I want to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is the late, great Grateful Dead, and specifically something known as China Cat Sunflower into I Know You Rider. So I'm going to dive right in, and I don't know where this is going to go. First, let me start by saying I was never fortunate enough to see the Grateful Dead. I was 15 years old when Jerry died. I didn't go to my first concert until I was 16 years old. But I did see, I believe in 1998, they called it the Further Festival, Rusted Root, Hot Tuna, and The Dead, which were the remaining members of the Grateful Dead, along with some other musical performers. It was one of the most amazing concerts I've ever seen, but I remember there was a guy that I worked with at the Backyard Restaurant, which is now the Union League over in Stone Harbor, New Jersey, and we were driving up. His name was Garvin, I think, and we were driving up. He asked this question in the car: what was the most common segue? If you're in the jam band scene, you know segues when they go from one song directly into another song without stopping. What is the most common segue that the Grateful Dead played throughout their career? And I pretty quickly offered a guess, which was Scarlet Begonias and the Fire on the Mountain. It's a very famous segue they've done it a lot of times. And he said, no, incorrect. And I couldn't think of another one. And then when he gave me the answer, I immediately knew, of course, obviously, it's this. And it's China Cat into I Know You Rider. They first performed it together as a combination in September of 1969, which was just 4 years after they'd formed. They'd play together until 1995, and it was a regular entry. Right? The two were rarely, early on there's a few examples, but they were rarely ever played without each other. And they were played regularly from when that occurred in 1969 all the way up until the end of the band in 1995. And for the uninitiated, if I had to give you sort of one piece of music to maybe understand the Grateful Dead, I would pick China Cat into Rider. And the reason is, China Cat Sunflower is sort of a psychedelic rock song. They wrote it when they were part of the San Francisco scene. Think of bands like Jefferson Airplane, they were in that mix. And it's, sort of crazy, flowery, nonsensical lyrics, lilting guitar, just sort of a crazy sounding, intricate kind of song, which is, sort of the Grateful Dead rock and roll, that psychedelic aspect, obviously. And then, at the end of it, I Know You Rider. I Know You Rider is actually, it's their arrangement of an old American folk tune. And a lot of people don't know about this Grateful Dead. Another big component of their sound and their music and their lyrics, their lyricist, one of their lyricists, Robert Hunter, was very connected to like American folk music, just Americana in general. I mean, these guys used to do a lot of cowboy songs all the time. So it's got those two parts to it. And they're both delivered in a very rock and roll way, obviously, and they're a rock and roll band. But then the other part that makes it very Grateful Dead, those important elements, are joined by a segue, and we used to collect tapes and we'd write an arrow between songs, right? So this into this means a segue, and it might just be into, right? So that into part, and that into part where they went from China Cat into a very different song, I Know You Rider, they worked out a lot of different ways of doing it. Sometimes they would just kind of drop into it. Sometimes they had some almost set pieces. Sometimes they incorporated all those set pieces. And I've been on a quest for a long time to find the quintessential example. And there's some great 80s versions out there, but in my mind, I was always pretty aware that I was probably going to find it in 1973 or 1974, which makes me think of this.
Why do you need new bands? Everyone knows rock attained perfection in 1974. It's a scientific fact.
That's right. Homer Simpson offers that it's a scientific fact that rock achieved perfection in 1974. Now, I do not know if that's the case, but I've listened to a lot, not quite all, but a lot of the China Cat Riders, and it is my opinion that they achieved perfection in 1974. And currently, the example I would offer, and if you go down below, if you're watching this, where we hope you watch these weekly market reports, which is on our website, follow the link. If you're on social media, there's always a link. Go follow the link. And then you'll find the useful links down below because you're on our website now. So you'll find all the properties listed, sold, put under contract, all that jazz. But more importantly, this time, I provided a link. I'm going to find as many as I can. I think YouTube will definitely be the link that I can find. But it was released, this version was actually released on a series the Grateful Dead at one point called like On the Road. So they released a ton of different live music. So I'm going to put it there. It's particularly long. This can be like 12 minutes sometimes, the two songs together. I think this one gets up to about like 18 or 19 minutes, and you'll see exactly what I'm saying. They kind of go from the one song into the other. So if you're interested, if you have no idea what the Grateful Dead are or what they sound like, I tell you, this is actually not a bad intro because it hits a lot of the elements. And if you like it, you might have to listen a few times to really like it. It's like learning to like oysters or something like that. And you want some tips about where to go from there, reach out, because it is one of my great passions in life. So April Fools, if you thought you were getting a real estate report, you're not getting a real estate report. Well, you still get, all the properties sold, listed, put under contract. You go down below. But I took a week off. It was a holiday. It's April Fool's Day, and it's been a tough stretch in real estate. So I doubt anybody's watching at this point. But if there are, one or two of you out there and you are still watching, check it out. I hope you enjoy. And next week, I promise I'll be back. I'll be dressed normal. I won't be wearing something ridiculous. And we'll have a regular market report for you. So stay in touch.